Okay guys, okay, here we go, making a silicone mould. Pretty straightforward. So here's my little cocking handle I made for my Nerf gun. Put some Lego down here, made a frame. Going to lay the cocking handle in the centre, and then I simply get a toothpick or something that I can make a mark with and trace around it. This will do. Okay. Tap it down, and I'll just follow the lines later. It might be a little bit close to that edge, but that's not a great problem. So, there we go. I've got a rough idea of the shape of it. I hope you can see that outline. I'll hold it right, yes you can. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is dig out a little bit of that. You know, only about, I'd like to be half the thickness of the actual piece, but I haven't got that much plasticine in there. And then we'll insert it. So I'll get back to you when I'm done that. Right guys, there we go. Cut out, ready to go. So what I've got, I hope this is in camera. It's very hard to work like this, but okay. So what I've got, just drop that in there. Gently push it in. So what I'm going to do now is just roll out some little sausages of plasticine, fill in these gaps, just seal it up very gently. I don't need much, just enough to stop the silicone I pour in the mold making material getting past it. And then I'll show you when I'm done at that stage, and then I'll get back to you. So as you can see, I've just put plasticine, filled up the gaps. Use the end of the X-Acto knife just to push in a few registration pins. They'll be reflected in the other side. They should be deeper, but it's not going to be a great problem. I've made little molds like this dozens of times before. It's fine. One thing I haven't done is made something that's going to have a bit of stress on, because this is going to get pulled on for cocking. So I'm not going to make that set of molds until I've made this one, cast a piece, put it in the gun, cocked it, and it hasn't broken. Okay, next step is to build another Lego wall, so we double the height. Right guys, got my extra high walls. Now I've just measured that, and the depth is like 100 milliliters, so I'm going to mix up my silicone, which is Pinkysil. This is just a two-part 50-50, so I'm just going to put 50 into this digital scale. I've reset it so it takes account of the weight of the cup. I can reset this, or I could just go up to 150, but I'll just reset it, so just another 75. You shouldn't do it like this. You should weigh them separately, then mix them, but I found if you're quick, you know, you can get away with it. Alright, here we go, and we just mix it, and all you do is mix this stuff until you get a nice uniform pink colour, as you can see. Being sure to get to the sides and take some of the silicone off the sides. I mean, I wonder if we'd be able to do this in a blender or something, but you'd add too much air, and that's the problem. You don't want to get any air bubbles in this, and there are some in there, but as you can see, the pink's pretty uniform. So before I pour it, turn off the scale, going to bang it on the table several times. And you can see a lot of air bubbles there at the top. Yeah, not much more's come off. So this stuff has a working time of about, I think, 5 or 6 minutes. It's pretty quick setting. It won't be long before I can unpack it either. So, pouring silicone if you've never done it before, and you've got a really bad camera tripod. You just pour in one corner, let the stuff make its own way, don't try and rush it. As you can see, by doing that, the bubbles are staying at the top, and they're not going to end up lying next to your work. So I'm just going to bang that, get the bubbles away from it. Yeah, that's already tacky too. So that'll be ready to pull apart in about an hour. In fact, I think the manual says 20 minutes. So that's just how I do it. I mean, and Pinkysil, if you're in Perth, Western Australia, where I am, that's available from Kirkside products up in Osborne Park. So it's pretty good stuff. get it direct from them, because it's getting it from like Right Art or something, they add a few bucks to it, you know. So there are other types, but it seems to work best. It's very straightforward. It's mainly made for hobbyists like me and little children that they don't want to poison themselves. So I'm going to leave that for about half an hour, and we'll get back to it. Talk to you again soon. Okay guys, plenty of time's passed. This is the one that I'm concerned with. You can see how the bubbles have actually dried in the surface there. So if you get any of them next to your piece, when you pour the resin in, you get little bubble shapes on the side of the resin. It can be hard to clean up. So ideally I should have a de-airer, which is just a pot with a vacuum hose attached, and you just suck it. You put the container full of the silicone in the pot, suck out the air, and the air and the resin comes out. Just basic physics really. So just pulling this apart really quickly. You don't have to get it all on, because all I've got to do now is peel up the resin. There we go, not the resin, the silicone. Now what I'm hoping is, and what I hope I just haven't ruined, is the piece will come out stuck inside the silicone. That will make the next pour a lot easier. Let's have a look. Yes, there we go. So there we are. The piece sitting inside the silicone. So all I have to do now is pour the other side. I've got a few little bits and pieces to clean up, and I'll show you that when I get to it. I'll be back with you in a second. Right guys, okay, so what I've done, dug it out. I used my U-boot tool my wonderful wife got me a few years ago for my birthday to find out little spots where there was little bits of silicone sticking up. And what I've done in the groove between these two posts, there's a little shallow groove, so I've just filled it with plasticine, so when the mould comes out, the entire thing will fill. So it just makes it a little bit stronger. And then I've got some petroleum jelly and smeared it all over the surface. That's my release agent. Oh, and I've also done what I call knock registrations, I guess. I just cut a couple little places out. I cut a little chunk out, so when I pour the next round of silicone in there, it'll just fill those as well and help act just like these pins I've put in, because they're pretty shallow. And basically the uneven surface of the mould will act like a gigantic lock anyway. It'll sort of tend to fall together, but never forget the petroleum jelly, because you know, like sticky tape, silicone sticks to itself like you wouldn't believe. So what I'll do, I'll just put the rest of the wall around, mix up the silicone, pour it, get back to you. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Thought I'd shown you just how to pour the other side, but didn't turn the button on. Great. So anyway, that's the mould, just poured it. Last few bubbles coming up, and we're ready to go. So when I pull that open, I'll show you what happens there. I forgot the mould in a pour chute, but I can cut one into silicone. It's relatively easily. So we'll get back to that in a little while, about half an hour. Okay, pouring the other side. Alright guys, got a little bit ahead of myself. You may notice the lighting's a bit different in here. It's night, so I'll just put a bit extra light on. Okay, so here is the mould. Already popped it open. So I take my master out, and what I do with that, you know, I could reuse the plasticine, scrap the plastic, whatever, but I'll just put it aside. I'll keep it for now. Now what I've done with this side of the mould, I've put the metal screw through, and I've wrapped some wire around. This will hopefully just act like reinforcing, you know, like rebar in concrete. And so I just put it down together, close them, and I know that, because I've tested this, that the wire doesn't touch any outside edge of the mould. So I've cut my pour hole there, and I've also cut 2 channels to allow any air to escape. So it'll pour in, fill up from the bottom, come up, any trapped air will just come up, so I'll know when the mould's full. How do you tell how much volume you've got? The easiest way is close your mould together, hold it together, pour some water in there before it drains out, pour it in a glass, and then weigh it or measure it, whatever. I'm guessing there's probably 50 mil, if that, in there. So I found my easy cast. This is the companion stuff to the Pinkysil. It's called Easy Cast, also available from Kirkside if you're in Perth, Western Australia. Look like the company that makes it's actually called Barnes. So it's barnes.com.au, so they're Australian as well. But it works well. So what I do, the cardboard carton that this stuff comes in is quite sturdy and stiff. So I cut two pieces, put one on one side, put it down. Of course I don't need any release agent because this stuff is made to not stick. Put the other one on the other side, and all I'm going to do is use a couple of rubber bands to hold the sides together. Pretty straightforward. Bought a pack of these 2,000 tiny little rubber bands, so I don't have to worry about double twisting them and making sure they're tight, because they are pretty tight as they are. And this stuff goes off fairly quickly. I don't think I got that much working time. So here's my cup. I just pulled out the dried silicone. I'm going to use the same cup, and it's the same thing. It's 50-50 part A and part B. So I'll do the same thing with the scale, all that sort of stuff. And I'll just leave the camera rolling so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll edit it later. Okay, alright guys, sorry about that, battery cut out just before I was about to pour, so I had to do that because it goes off quickly. As you can see, it's already gone white and it's pretty hard, so conceivably I could pop the mould open and pull out the piece, but I'm going to leave it till morning. It's very late. I've just jammed that mixing stick there just to put a little bit of pressure on the screw to twist it sort of slightly, line it in the center of the mould. God, excuse me. So that's done. We'll come back in the morning. Alright, bye guys. Right guys, good morning. Next day, time for the fun bit, the exciting bit. So get rid of that. Yeah, I figured it'd probably break. Now of course the pop stick touching the resin, it's got stuck there, but it's not a great issue. Take off my support cards. The cards basically are just to stop the resin deforming, the silicone deforming if you're doing large pours, but it's always a good idea to get in the habit of just doing it for all of them. There we go. And here we go. Shouldn't be any great surprises. No. There we go. There's my piece. Pretty easy to clean up with a sharp knife. That what you probably know is flashing. Peels off. Clean up down there. Out there. Looks a little bit like a shark fin, doesn't it? Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty rough because I didn't take a lot of care with it, but I will sand that down and see if I can get a usable piece out of it, and if not, I'll probably have to repeat the whole process again. And this large lump of resin, you just get your little X-Acto razor saw on, cut that off, and done basically. Yeah, fair amount of clean up to do, but not a great issue. Okay, I'll get that cleaned up and get back to you. Okay, and we're done. Just finished cleaning up the slot, and there's the piece. Still pretty rough. I've got to do a final finish, but what I'm talking about is just cleaning up this, so it fits in there nice, actually sits in there. So what we'll have is a screw going through there into it, maybe even one through there. The one point where you can see the wire through it, but that's not a great issue. Got to make sure you can see this, and a little bit down, but nobody's going to see that. So I'm pretty chuffed with that. I mean, I've made a lot of silicone molds before, but I've actually been molding, you know, hard plastic robot model parts bits. First time I've used plasticine, so it's pretty chuffed that you can see some of the detail there in the from the trigger. But yeah, the plasticine is still a bit, you know, the surface is still a bit rough, so I'll get on with some heavy duty sanding on that, finish it off, and then I can get on with actually putting the gun back together, because that's about it really. So, plasticine, resin, done. Moving on.